Okay, here we go. This is a slide that you can now see, which describes what I had just been speaking of. 41% before digital signatures said that documents needed the signatures to be signed on those documents. Over here on the right, 48% of the people said that when they printed out documents, the only reason they were printing them was so they could be signed. No other value to printing out the document. After digital signatures, the survey respondents reported the following, including 53% said that they saved in printing by no longer printing, they saved with their paper handling costs, no more need to print out the documents, to fax them, send them by courier, and so forth. The bottom line reported by the AIM survey is that 81% of the people who implemented digital signatures reached their return on investment in 12 months or less. Even more startling, or if that's not good enough news, 25% of the people said that they reached their return on investment in under 3 months. In under 3 months, that their total investment was covered in of implementing a digital signature system, and everything after that, of course, was pure profit. So what are they? First, we want to discuss the difference between what are sometimes called e-signatures or electronic signatures and standard digital signatures. On the left, e-signatures are easy to use and inexpensive, but they have a lot of shortcomings, and I'm going to be contrasting them in the next several slides. On the other hand, standard digital signatures are mature standards. They provide a very high level of document security compared to e-signatures. They also are compliant with national, international, and industry regulations. This is all very good news. The problem with standard digital signatures is that they're hard to implement and they have a high total cost of ownership. The good news is that if you change from standard digital signatures to server-side digital signatures, you gain all of the advantages that you have from digital signatures, and then you achieve the additional advantages that server-side digital signatures are easy to use, inexpensive, and have a low total cost of ownership. And the digital signatures from Cosign are server-side digital signatures. So we're going to be focusing on them for these next several slides as I tell you about the benefits and the technology. So what are they? As you can infer, they are signatures where they're not used with a pen, but are rather added to the documents electronically. An important part of digital signatures is they provide the proof of what we call the 3 I's: identity, intent, and integrity. Let's look at each of those. The first is the signer identity. Digital signatures make sure of exactly who was the person who signed the document at the level of assuredness that fits all the different legal issues so that they are valid for contracts and everything else. This is done by using identification information that is embedded in the signed document. The system also takes care of what's called signer intent. That's the signer's statement at the signing time that says something like, I agree with this document, or I certify these results, and so forth. Last, and very important, is the document integrity. The digital signature systems, and these again are open standards, make sure that the document's integrity is complete, that the content has not changed in the slightest since the time it was changed. The data cannot be changed without invalidating the signature. And then electronic signatures don't provide this. We all are familiar with the idea of taking a scan of our signature and sticking it on a Word document. There's no assurance that that Word document is not later going to be changed. The signature still looks like it's there. In contrast, as you'll see, with a digital signature, if anything changes in the document, then the signature will no longer be valid. How you tell whether something's valid or not when it comes to digital signatures is you use a validator. There are many different pieces of software that will validate digital signatures, and because they're an open standard, you can use software from many different companies. It's very common to use the free Adobe Reader as a validation system. It's free, everyone has it, and it knows how to validate digital signatures. If your document, in this case we've opened this document in Adobe Reader, if your document has valid signatures, then Adobe Reader will tell you that right here. In the document itself, you see the graphical representation of the signature. You see the name of the person who signed, the signer's statement, this is the intent, the time, and this is all visible within the document when you print it. Excuse me. If you click on the signature panel that's over here, then Adobe Reader will open up a new window that shows you the additional information, further information on the signer's identity right here, the signer's intent, and the document integrity statement right here. Document has not been modified since the signature was applied. And remember, this is all being done with Adobe Reader. You do not need Cosign or any other system. You can just use Adobe Reader, or there are other options to validate. This means that the recipient of your documents does not need to have anything installed specially in order to validate the signatures. Again, that's not true with electronic signature systems. Let's drill a little bit deeper. What is a digital signature? How does it work? The document, when you are going to digitally sign it, what first happens is that the document is put through a cryptographic process that calculates what is called the document hash. It's also called the document fingerprint. This is a long number that represents the document's content. Later on, if the document's content were to change in any way, this long number would change. This number, even though it's a long number, is far shorter than a document. That document hash number is combined with the signer's private key. It's also combined with the signer's public key, so the recipients of the document know the name of the person who signed it. And then this is run through a process which is handled for you by the Cosign system, and this creates the digital signature. The digital signature comes in two parts. The part that is visible in the document, that's what we're seeing here, and finally the part that is a series of numbers, a binary representation of the digital signature, is appended to the end of the document. You can't see it, but it's there, and that's what Adobe Reader or a different system would use to validate the digital signature that's now a part of the document. And documents can have digital signatures from multiple people. That all works very well. What you get is a truly paperless system. With digital signatures, you have the original signed document is what's being stored in your electronic content management system, such as Alfresco. You get a low total cost of ownership because of additional features that are in the Cosign system, and I'm going to talk about those on the next slide. What you also get are soft benefits. The obvious one is there's no more piles of paper. You also get what's clearly a modern process, and that's something that helps the employees feel better about what they're doing, makes everything go much faster. And you also get an advantage over competitors. It's very visible to your customers, to your partners of your organization, that you're using a modern digital signature system to keep business moving fast. The total cost of ownership for a digital signature system is a very important issue. You don't want to have the cost of business going up when you put in digital signatures. You want it going down. And the way to achieve that quick payback on your investment is an important part of Cosign. What we do is provide automatic synchronization of the community of signers and your Active Directory system. What this means is that within the organization, you have already put in place processes to make sure that all the employees are in the Active Directory system, that when an employee leaves, they are properly removed from the Active Directory system, that people are entered with the right level of authorization and in the right groups and so forth. Cosign provides automatic synchronization so that the investment in maintaining the Active Directory list of employees or other people within the organization is further leveraged by Cosign, so that you don't have to repeat it to keep track of your signers. And Cosign synchronizes not only with Active Directory, but with also LDAP and other types of systems. So this enables what is called onboarding. Since the person is already being added to Active Directory, they'll be automatically added to the signing system if that's appropriate to be done, and also when the person leaves the company. Another part of the lowering the total cost of ownership is the issue of certificates. The Cosign system maintains its own certificate authority that automatically deals with all the issues of keeping the certificates synchronized, private, maintained, and trackable, and so forth. Cosign is the world leader for digital signature solutions. We have lots of customers in lots of countries. As I said, it's open standards, no vendor lock-in. That's very important. It means that you don't have to worry that there's some sort of, that you're walking into a one-way system. Cosign enables documents to be signed from anywhere, including with the help of Zaizi alfresco systems. Compliance is very important since you want to make sure that your standard digital signatures are in fact standard, and Cosign takes the time, energy, and resources to make sure that that's the case. I'm going pretty quickly here because we all want to get to the demonstration and see how it really works. What I'm listing on this slide here, I'm certainly not going to go through it, are some examples from the many different industries that have already decided to purchase Cosign digital signatures. All sorts of documents from transactional nature to what we call governance, and I'm sure you can imagine many ways to empower your business by using digital signatures. Cosign is the market leader in a number of particular areas that we have listed here: life sciences, healthcare, engineering, construction. We have a lot of customers within the government of both in the States and here in the European Union and other governments around the world. Cosign provides choice, and that's very important. You want to be able to sign anything, just as in the old days you would sign anything with a pen. And Cosign is a complete, what we call, ecosystem to make sure that you can sign the documents no matter the type of document or where the document lives, including, as you see here, with alfresco. So what do you actually end up with? And the answer is that the signing system has to be in hardware. That's a requirement of standard digital signatures, that you have to protect the keys, the private key of the different signers has to be protected within hardware, within very special hardware if you want to be really serious about it. And the hardware that we sell here is called FIPS certified. That means that there's a government agency that makes sure that it does what it's supposed to do. And that includes, if anyone were to open any of the covers, then switches detect that, and immediately all the private keys inside are wiped clean to provide the highest level of security. So for example, if you're a professional engineer, you want to make sure that no one can use your professional engineering stamp that you use to stamp blueprints or drawings that say that you have approved them. And so you want the security of this level of appliance. For a little bit less money, if you're pretty sure that no one's going to be going into your machine room, we have a lower cost appliance available that we call the enterprise version. For smaller companies, we offer Cosign Cloud, where we have this type of appliance is mounted at a secure data center and is available over the internet. And that solution is very good for smaller companies. It doesn't include as many synchronization capabilities with Active Directory and so forth, so it's the one for a smaller group of signers. We're nearing the end on the slides, and then we're going to be turning it over to Zaizi for more information and also the demonstration. What I have here is a schematic of the deployment architecture. It's a busy slide, so let's walk through the different parts of it. First, what we have here, this represents the Active Directory or LDAP system. And the idea is central control over signature privileges. You've already put the investment by your organization into making sure that no one is added to the Active Directory who shouldn't be added, and that everyone who's in there is the right person and so forth. And that gets us this idea of the administrator managing the Active Directory system. All the policies of who can be there, who should not be there, have already been set up. There's automatic synchronization through this gray arrow, as I mentioned earlier, with the Cosign signing engine, whether it comes in this form or the enterprise form. This synchronization right here, that part is not currently available through the cloud. With the signing engine available, the end users can sign, and whether they're signing from their desktop, web, or mobile. You'll see on the next slide how and in the next presentation, how it works for a more sophisticated system that would include alfresco. So what happens is that the requests are securely sent using SSL, that's the secure HTTP protocol, or securely sent over to the box here, and then the response is securely sent back, and you end up with a digital signature being applied to the system. The Cosign appliance includes additional features. So it's including, beyond simply signing, it's including the management of the certificates. And that additional feature that's called being a certificate authority, or CA, that additional feature is again aimed at keeping the total cost of ownership low as possible. It has built-in key management for dealing with all the issues of private keys and keeping them safe and secure, using them as needed for signing documents. And it also keeps track of those graphic signatures that you also want to see on the documents. This is my final slide, and of course you're welcome to type in different questions that you've already had or that come up during the presentation, and we will all do our best to answer them. So in this drawing here, this is a larger system where we have the Alfresco system and then the Cosign signature web agent, and this is combined with the software from Zaizi to add the capability for Cosign signatures to Alfresco. These could be on virtual machines, and Fran is going to talk much more about that. Here we see, again, the Cosign Central. In this case, I'm showing two of them. The reason is that we have a number of customers where, if you think about it, signing documents is core to many activities within a business. And we have companies that are signing thousands upon thousands of signatures every month. So they want to make sure that no matter what, they still can digitally sign things. As a result, we offer a high availability configuration where you have two of the appliances to make sure that absolutely no matter what happens, you're still going to be able to keep signing. And the Cosign Central appliance is keeping track of these things, as I mentioned in the last slide. Cosign can be accessed by the distributed enterprise, and what we mean by that is if you set things up, then your signing appliance can be available over the internet, either through VPN to selected places or over the broader internet, depending on how you want to set it up and what are the needs of your own applications. Cosign signatures are used in applications every day by people using it through mobile systems too, both through the cell phones and also through tablets. I could go a lot more into depth into a lot of these different aspects of Cosign, but what we want to hear about now is the aspect of using it with modern electronic content management system as Alfresco presents to us. So let me turn it over to Fran, and we'll go on to the next presentation. Thanks very much.
Okay, so thank you, Larry, for your presentation. I'm hoping that everyone who is attending to that event knows now a bit more about digital signatures and Cosign. So I will share my desktop. Before before explaining the components and how it works, I would like to point I call it the state of the art, or basically how organizations are using right now the combination of both systems. I mean, ECM and a digital signature application. Okay, so we have the most basic scenario. I've called it medieval, not because it has 5 centuries of antiquity, but it's because it's really old. Meaning that in this scenario we have the user prints the document to sign. As Larry said, a lot of companies, a lot of users only print the document to sign it. Okay, so documents are printed and users download get the copy, the physical copy, and sign it. Okay, maybe they are too important as to scan it by themselves, so they give the signed copy to another person in the organization who scan the document and to upload it in the ECM. Okay, in this scenario, we have the fact that the paper is used, so maybe can be lost, documents can be lost. Of course, there is no control, there is no actual way to control where the users upload or download the documents. We can have the scenario where documents are misplaced and they are not uploaded where they have to be. The most important issue is that signature in this case is just a graphic, and so can be tricked somehow, and whoever can imitate the signature and sign for everyone else. Okay, then we have a bit modern scenario, because in this case the sign application is actually an IT application. Okay, users work with two different systems at once. In one case we have the ECM, so users work with the ECM as the way we know, and then when they need to sign a document to from this ECM, the document is transferred to the sign application, and users are notified somehow. Normally, they will be notified by an email saying, "Hey, you have to go to the sign application and sign the document for me." In which case, we have that the integration is not a full integration, because users are using two different applications, maybe two different branding, two different designs. Okay, so users realize that actually are working with two different applications. In this case, we may have a digital duplication of documents, because sign applications are going to keep a copy of the signed document. Okay, so in which case we have some risks and some advantages. Okay, because in both scenarios we have that either the company generates either physical copies, and there are a lot of risks in the process if they are using manual signatures, or they are using digital copies, and there are technical risks if the integration is done out of the ECM scope, because we are working with two different applications in two different scopes. Okay, so what's the ideal case? The ideal case is the one that we have the ECM and the digital signature feature in the same place. Okay, but ECM solutions do not bring digital signature features out of the box. So the question here is, how do we get an ECM scope integration of digital signatures? Okay, the answer is the combination of these three elements, Fresco, Cosign, and Zaizi, within the connector that we have implemented. Okay, I didn't want to. Well, first of all, this is the action panel of Fresco Share. The thing that maybe is new for you is that we have two new actions: sign with Cosign and verify with Cosign. And what we are going to see later in the demo is that you click on sign with Cosign, and you get this. Okay, so you can sign documents into Fresco, because as you can see in the background, we have the document library from Fresco Share. So I am not going to overcomplicate the architecture too much. Okay, so basically the integration that we have is by using a component that Cosign provides called Signature Web Agent, which allows to sign documents via a web application. and it's embedded in Shell by using a dialog of the Yahoo user interface. Okay. Since since you can also sign documents with the desktop tool, the Cosign agent, just imagine that we can also sign documents into Alfresco if we have populated the repository by using threads or WebDAV or something. So we can have both features, okay? Signatures in web application with Alfresco Share and signatures in desktop with Alfresco WebDAV and Cosign agent. Okay, so in this case, the diagram represents the way that users will sign through Share. Okay, so users access Share, and when they click on Sign, the signature web agent is opened. What users are actually seeing is a dialog in the top of Alfresco Share, and when finish it, Share gets the control again. So in effect, we have moved to the signature web agent, but it's been a smooth transition. So users don't realize that of this change of application. They think that they are in the same application. Okay, on the other hand, we have Alfresco that access to signature web agent and requests useful information about the signature fields. For instance, how many signature fields a document has, or the status of these signature fields, whether or not are signed and by whom. And finally, we have Share that requests to Alfresco and requests information about the status of the document that has been retrieved by the API of signature web agent, and they use it to present useful information to users. Okay, the way that it has been coded is wrapped as an Alfresco service. Okay, so it's been really useful and really easy for us to build a custom sign action that, of course, we can use to build custom sign workflows. We can also have the validate action, which allows us to check the status of documents signed out of Alfresco, so we don't need to sign a document into Alfresco to see whether or not it's been signed. We also have the custom document status retrieved from the information that the signature web agent gives us from the signature field. So we can see if a document is completely signed, partially signed, not signed, or whatever. We have also built an API by using WebScript that will allow us to have a full Alfresco Share integration. The most important piece in here, which is the signature process, is done by a dialog. So user thinks that they are still in the Alfresco Share scope. Thanks to this web script, we've been able to develop some custom share elements as evaluators to decide where or not to show the sign action. Indicators, which allows to know the status of the document. The document details view is being customized to show this new metadata retrieved from the signature field. One important piece is that operations are done in background, so we are not compromising the performance. So in the case that the communication between Alfresco and Cosign takes longer for whatever reason, network problems or whatever, we are not making Alfresco slower. We have been trying to be very flexible in terms of what to sign or not to sign, who can sign and who can't. Okay, so we have created a configuration dashboard. It's for administrators, so it's in the admin console of Share. And we have multiple configuration options, and we can generate different profiles to decide which user and group can sign, what kind of documents can sign, what content, Alfresco content types can sign, and where these documents can be signed depending on where they are placed. Since the solution is prepared to work with Alfresco Enterprise, of course, we have the Alfresco cluster support. It can work perfectly in a cluster. We also have a cache to manage the signature profiles, so we can have a fast access and a shared access. And finally, as I've been repeating too much times, we have a smooth and decoupled integration. So if Alfresco for some reason does not reach WebSign agents, Alfresco keeps working. One important thing that allows to do with this design that we have presented is that we can build workflows in a very easy way. Okay, so the action called Sign with Cosign is included into workflows. We can generate workflows with a difficulty likely to the approved one. Okay, and we have some example workflows like the Sign Simple, which is a simple assignation of a user that has to sign a document, a 3-step signature, sign, review, and approve, a sequential sign, and a parallel sign. One important thing too is for those workflows that we know how many steps we have, we can map an user to a concrete signature field. So if we know the names of the signature field, we can control what signature field is signed by who user. I will show you later, okay? Finally, before starting the demo, we have, of course, a lot of advantages. The cost savings are very high. I don't need to mention anything else since Larry has spoken about getting a return of investment in the 3 first months. Okay. One important thing for me is that we mitigate risks and losses of information. If we are, since we are not in the case that we are printing documents and whatever, we have less risks. Another important thing is that we never lose the ECM focus. So we are apparently always in Alfresco Share while we are signing documents. Since every company is quite different, okay, we have an adaptable solution that is flexible, allow to create different solutions depending on the business scenarios that we are facing with. Okay, so if you allow me, I am going to do a demo of the solution. Okay, so I am going to log in as my user. Okay, my user is kind of administrator user, okay, but it does not make difference. We have the sign site, that is a site that we have created to do signatures, but we can also have a couple of folders in here that we have previously configured. Okay, so for instance, if I upload some documents, okay, this is a simple document that has no signature fields on it. This is a document that has already been signed out of Alfresco, and this is a not signed document. Okay. Okay, so Depending on how we configure the profiles, we will be allowed to sign any PDF or not. In this case, we cannot sign this document, okay, because it has no signature field. Then we will see a demo that will allow to sign this document. Okay, if we check this document, we see that the document is incomplete. That has two different signature field to sign. Okay, if we refresh the folder, sorry, if we go to the folder again, we see that the document is not completely signed. This one, which is signed of alfresco, we can see that it's complete. And if we look at the signature details, well, we don't need to look at here. We can go to the metadata, and we can see that the document is complete and has 3 different fields, and all of them has been signed by me. Okay. This one, however, is not signed. Okay, we go to the details, and it's not signed. So we can sign it. Okay, this is the preview of the document. We don't have signatures, so we can click on sign. Hold on. Okay, so this is the website agent from the Cosign application. Okay, for a user, for any user, there are no actual difference between the look and feel. So apparently we are still in alfresco. We can select the profile that we want to sign. For instance, this one. I am going to enter a predefined reason for signing. For example, I want to sign the document. Okay, and I click on sign. So I have the successful response that the document has been properly signed. Now, we can see that we have the signature in here, in the preview. And also, we have a new signature detail that says that the document has been signed by me right now. And there is still another field to sign. Okay. The way that we have configured this is by a Cosign manager, okay, that allows us to define different profiles. We have a profile for the document that we have just signed, another one for only admin users, okay. The difference is that basically that the repository folder that we have to sign is a folder called signature for admin, and the authority that can sign this document is a alfresco group called super signers. Okay, so depending on what we configure here, some users we will be able to sign or not. Okay, for instance, if since I am part of the this super signers group, I could sign documents here. Okay, but if I log in with another user, I just can't. I can only verify the, sorry, this one. I can only verify the document, but I can't sign because I don't have permission. However, this user can sign in this site. Okay. So if I upload the document that if you remember before, we cannot sign in the folder because of the configuration. Hold on, I'm going to delete this one, but to make sure we are not getting confused. Okay, this is the document that we are going to sign. It's very simple. Okay, we can sign the document. So I'm going to enter the details. Okay, we don't have signature profile defined on it, but however, we can sign it. Okay, so we can select the place where we want to put the signature. We can also select the elements that we want to include. For instance, the title of this person, the graphical signature, the title. Yeah, I want to sign the document. So in this case, if we go to the document, where we can see that the document has already been signed, and we have the name of the title, which are the two elements that we have selected to include in the graphical signatures, but we also have the signature detail for this signature. Okay. Finally, we can show how to sign a document by using a workflow. Okay, so I'm going to upload a document that, if we can look at it, has 3 different signature fields. Okay, so I am going to start a workflow. You may see that there are more workflows than usual, not in a regular alfresco out of the box. These are the workflows that we have for Cosign. Okay, in this case we are going to use the one called review and sign multiple. Okay. And for author, we are going to select myself. going to sign ARX signature. For the viewer, let's use this user. And for the approver, let's use this one. Okay. So we can start the workflow. And if I go to my dashboard, I see that I have a new task to do, which is the workflow that we have just created, and I click on sign. You might get surprised about the fact that there are only one button, okay? You will see now the reason. So basically the reason is that we have now a new button here to reject the workflow, and is rejected in the signature window. Okay, so users can decide to reject in that very moment. Okay, in this case, you know, since I have selected that the user has to sign ARX signature profile name, he can't select any other. However, he can choose the reason to sign, and the reason is I want to sign the document. So I click on sign. The document is signed successfully. Okay, and I have no other task to do. If you remember, the second user who is involved in the workflow is this one. And I have the task on me. Okay, I have to sign party B. Okay, since I am the reviewer, I want to review the document. So I click on sign. The task will finish, and finally I am logging with the third user. Let's use this one. Okay. So if I go back to the user, we initiate the workflow. We can see that the document was signed. We can close the task, or we can go to see the document details. So now we have the 3 signatures available. Okay, not only in the preview, but also in the signatures detail. Okay, Another interesting feature is that we have all the version of the document, specifying who signs every field with all the information, such as the date, the user, the signature profile. And that's a very useful tool for instance, audit trail. In terms of record management, we can have all the version of the document with the different signatures. So it's a very powerful feature. Okay, in this case, we close the workflow. So the workflow has finished. That's it, I guess. So getting back to the presentation, thank you very much for your time, and we can now answer the question that you have.
Thank you, Fran and Larry. I have two questions for you guys. The first question is, what determines the lifespan of the signature's validity? What happens if or when the certificate expires?
Okay, this is Larry Kluger. The document has already been signed, and so what happens my understanding is that what happens is that the verification will flag a problem and say that part of the chain of certificates telling you about who was the person, the identity of the signer, will report that one of the certificates is no longer valid. But it was valid at the time of signing. And the essential part is that the document's integrity is still there. So there's an issue of the assurance. The assurance is for the life of the certificate, but the signature is still there. I want to also say that this is on the edge of my expertise, and the best way to get to the next level of understanding on this important issue is to talk with one of our more technical representatives. There is also what's called PDF/A, PostScript document format/A, where the A stands for archiving. This is a new standard which seeks to address this specific issue of certificates having expiration dates. And my understanding with PDF/A is that the digital signature includes additional information about the chain of certificates at the time the document was signed. And so that way this additional information can rise along with the document so that so the digital signatures will fully validate longer into the future. This is, again, this is the right sort of question to be discussed more fully with the technical experts we have here at Cosign.
Thank you, Larry. One more question for you guys. Can the signature be verified if the Cosign server is unavailable, i.e. signing organization's internet connection is down?
Yes, absolutely. And the way that works is that the software that validates the signature, so for example, someone within an organization digitally signs a report and certifies the report, which for instance was an inspection of some equipment or something, that the report was indeed filled out by the inspector. That report would then be sent to multiple people, including, for example, the customer who owns the equipment. That report includes a digital signature and includes enough information so that the signature can be fully verified. And that works because what is called a root certificate is installed and available to that recipient. So what this means is that when the person, when the recipient at an outside company verifies the signature, everything they need for verification is on their system. They are not going over the internet in any way back to that signing organization. And again, this, in fact, this is a big difference with electronic signatures. With electronic signatures, when you just take your signature, a scanned copy of your signature and put it onto a Word document, the only thing that assures you that nothing has been changed is your confidence that no one's changed it. The electronic signature companies, the way they do the equivalent is that you have to trust that they are maintaining that the documents aren't going to be able to change, and that means that you have to go back to that company electronically over the internet to somehow validate it. And it can't be done with Adobe Reader because it doesn't know how, and in any case you have to go to that other company. With digital signatures, the document never leaves your organization. Within the Alfresco system, it is maintained, it is signed, and it was never the case that a copy of the document leaves your organization, which is important for security. Later on, for verification, the signed document, the person validating it, does not need to have any kind of electronic contact with the signing organization.
Thank you very much, guys. That is all the questions. If you guys have any more questions, please do get in touch with us. I will send our contact details with you via email to everybody that registered today. Thank you, Fran and Larry, for a great presentation. I think that's all.